Alright, I finally came to some conclusions on where the problems lie. When I first got this kit, one thing I did do that was smart was measured the angles from left and right on that keel. And from here to here, one side was 3/16 inch difference in a few inches from the other side. I didn't even measure the front. I just took it to a fab shop. Once I figured out where one was, I could have it done. And I took them the transom. I said I need those angles to match the transom angles. The transom is CNC cut, and I'm assuming that the keel is supposed to match the transom. So they rebent it. Now, I don't know if they just made the back match or if they were able to carry that proper angle all the way to the front, because I have no reason to believe that the front was perfect and these two were off that much. So if the keel in the front is still off, well, that's contributing to my problems. I got an inch height difference from one side to the other at this point. So in retrospect, I'm thinking about how this went together, and in a previous video I talked about where it was dimpled down below right there where the keel strap meets the bent, or the chine strip meets the bent chine on the outer hull plate, and how this corner here was bent down pretty drastically. Right now it's under a lot of attention, so that looks pretty minimal. But once I spread the front of the hull and put that toe kick in, you know, with this pushing out on it and this being spread, this did come up. But it's still pulling, still a lot of pressure there. So, but I realized, you know, before all that, when this was hanging down 1/2 inch, this was matching up. That their bends are uneven from back to front. Now on this side is the front side that's angled down. So their brake can't handle apparently this length of metal and get an even bend all the way across. And what that means is that all of these bends, even down to the side one, are essentially overbent on this end. They might match spec on that end. I don't know. I don't know how to check spec other than how to match things match up. That didn't match up. Now on the other side, it would probably be reversed, because you have to turn your work around in the brake, and the side that doesn't bend, you know, that bends differently than the other switches around. And that explains something else too. These chine bends on the bottom of the outer plate, this one is downhill that way. And that was evidenced by when I matched this up and I pulled it up to try and match it to everything else, that was dimpled right down there. So this bend on the chine is apparently the same as these. The bend itself is angled from the back all the way to the front in a downward slope. So that downward slope, if you match your edges on the side panel to the outer hull plate, what does that do to the front? Well, the front's going to be at a downward angle. Now you turn your work around in your brake that sucks and can't bend one end the same as the other, and you have the opposite. On this side, you're going to have this end be the problem, and that end probably being pretty square. That end lined up pretty good with the lid and such. This, I had to put a lot of pressure on to pull it up. So they're bad bends is where my unequal pressure points are coming from, and it changes your dimensions up this side plate, this side panel. So because of their break and their bad bends, this side's pointing down, this side's pointing up. So, or up that way, and this side's pointing down on this side. So that's why that side panel was so much easier to form up into the front. And this side was a lot worse, a lot harder, you know, abnormally compared to that one. So it wasn't until I get the front together, you know, that I got this twist. When I put the lid on it and I tried, you know, connecting the edges of the boat with the lid, with the front deck. And that's when these uneven, well, you saw what it looked like, you know, the offset of the hood just to lay on it. So all the problems that are down here on bends show up when you try and match the hood. You know, this side that's shorter pushes down. That side is either higher or pushes up. My guess is this side is just coming down on me. You know, and that center keel, I mean, maybe it's higher on the right side, maybe it's contributing, I don't know. I don't really have any way of checking it. I can eyeball it, it looks pretty good, but you know, I don't have a measuring tool to put on that. So, so that's my problem, is bad bends all around. I probably got the keel solved by taking it to someone locally and having them fix the work. But I did not have these rebent. Didn't know I had to. Hadn't figured that out. So, you know, if you're stupid enough to buy one of these kits from RSR, take your parts, you know, especially if they just ship it to you. Take your parts down to a fab shop, or, you know, put them on the ground. If you got a nice level surface, you know, and you can verify you have 8 feet that's flat and level, with a couple feet wide, put your keel down on there and measure it to the ground. Or take a tool and measure your angles. If they're off, you're going to have them bent. And if they are off, then you probably need to take everything else on this boat that's bent to your fab shop and say, here's both sides, make them equal and what looks like straight. Or just take it to a fab shop that can do all the bending and have them put your boat together for you, because, you know, you're not going to necessarily be able to look at the kit right away and know that, hey, this is off, that's off, this angle's not right, this angle is uneven. You know, maybe to a trained eye, but, you know, you're a layman in your shop at home, probably not. And then you're going to get to this stage, you're going to spend weeks on it, hours and hours and hours of cutting all these welds off, grinding them down and cleaning up your metal, you know, putting the whole boat back together in the front end, tacking them back on, trying to do things even heavier duty so they don't move on you, just to find out you're still screwed. And now, for me to take all this crap apart again, it's not looking good, people. Metal sucks, you know, and those little narrow chines are only like that wide and they go up to that in the front. Well, tack those and cut them a couple times and see what they look like. Yeah. So bottom line is, RSR is in Idaho. I'm in Southern Oregon. They're in Northern Idaho. I drove up there, I picked up the first boat, it was partially welded. I ended up having to return it. Then I drove to Portland to meet a guy to swap it for a kit. And this is the kit that I got. So, I don't know, maybe they're just not capable. Maybe they don't have the tooling, maybe they don't have the, you know, the ability to put out a decent kit. You know, I don't have it. I mean, am I expected to have the tools to just compensate for all this crap? No. So, if you really got to have one of these, just get your parts, check them, take them into a shop. If anything's off, just have everything rebent or whatever you think needs to be done to try and get them at least equal left to right. You know, and when you set up your hull, before you even pull the front hull, bottom hull sections together, measure out corner to corner, left, right, your height. If you got a nice level floor, you've got something to measure off of. Just make sure you're square and make sure your chine bends are even front to back. Otherwise, this is what you will get, and you'll be hating it. You'll be hating the boat, because at this point I'm kind of hating this boat.